good morning. We have Andrew Radonjic here from Venture Minerals. How are you today, Andrew?
I'm very well, Gia. Yourself?
Yeah, really good, thank you. It's as you can see here, it's blue, beautiful blue skies. Um, so before we start here, Andrew, I just want to quickly tell our audience. So we have Andrew here today, Venture Minerals. The ticker code is VMS, Victor Mike Sierra. So Andrew, can you kickstart this interview off by telling us a little bit about actually Venture Minerals?
Yeah, look, Venture's been listed on the Australian Stock Exchange since 2006. We are a very diversified company. Though our flagship asset for many years was the Mount Lindsay Tin-Tungsten Project, but even that's quite diversified with tin, tungsten, iron or in the form of magnetite and copper. We are very truly diversified, and we've got we started an iron ore mine in Tasmania, which is not too far from the Mount Lindsay Tin-Tungsten Project, where we spent $50 million, and we're on our second feasibility study, an underground feasibility opposed to an open pit study. But by our main skill set and our success in the past has been really through exploration and making discoveries. We've made 3 discoveries in Tasmania, and
Mhm.
hopefully we're on another one in Western Australia.
Tremendous. I'm a WA girl, so that's great news for me. So, can you now segue and tell us a little bit about the Jupiter Rare Earths project? And actually, how does this differ to your other current projects? And because I know that, we want to know why you think it's also superior to the other tenements around Australia.
Well, look, we were doing exploration at Mount Lindsay in Tasmania, and we came across quite often we'd run the UV lamp over the drill core looking for scheelite, which is a very brilliant blue material, which
Mm-hmm.
is a tungsten mineral. And we found this orange material, and we couldn't recognize it, and we did some analysis, and we
Mm-hmm.
found it had rare earths in it, and we sort of started looking around for rare earths at Mount Lindsay. And it got us interested, and we found a little bit on one of our satellite tin deposits. It was in the clay, and we started looking for these clay-hosted rare earths, and that's where that journey began. Probably 18 months ago, and it culminated in us finding some ground or an opportunity of some ground with some rare earths at the surface, vacant ground in Western Australia, not too far from our Golden Grove North project, which we JV'd into with Sensor, which is now Premier One Lithium. They
Mm-hmm.
just changed the name recently. So they're earning in at the moment, but we're about 40 kilometres away, and we've got this rare earth at the surface. We pegged it, and
Mm-hmm.
then we found that someone else had drilled some holes, had some success. Well, didn't recognise the success they had because they're more interested in a deeper source, but a shallower clay-hosted material was quite high in grade for that type of ore. And what's happened since is that we've drilled holes, and we just keep on yielding better and better results, culminating in this great 40 square kilometre lot target we call Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like one of the largest and highest grade clay-hosted rare earth deposits in Australia, most definitely. We've got the record intersection there for an
Mm-hmm.
Australian resource of 48 metres at over 3,000 ppm total rare earths. And the great other thing about that is the location. We're next to
Mm-hmm.
a Richmond Road gas pipeline, and we've got Iluka building a plant trucking distance away of 250 kilometres, a rare earth refinery,
Uh-huh.
which the Australian government has supported by putting, as part of the critical minerals backing by the federal government, they put $1.2 billion into building that refinery.
Mm-hmm.
And in the opposite direction, now it is Western Australia, as you know, it's flat, and therefore, trucking 500 kilometres in a
Mm-hmm.
straight line is very possible in the Midwest or Western Australia. So you could truck our ore or product to the plant and get it processed at Mount Well, where Lynas are
Mm-hmm.
looking for this type of mineralisation. So we're very well positioned. And then if we want to build our own project, we've got great infrastructure. We're only 300 kilometres from the port of Geraldton. So,
Mm-hmm.
one of my pictures is location, location, location. And that certainly is
I was
very, very
thinking just the
important.
same thing.
So, yeah, that's why we're excited. But this is pretty much our focus now.
Hmm.
We have got activities happening on our Tasmanian properties as we speak, but the excitement and all that with the stock is really to do with Jupiter.
Excellent. So, I mean, for our audience here, could you talk to me a little bit more about, why rare earth elements is so crucial to the world and how it's actually being used to make modern technology possible?
Well, there's a common saying: a little bit of rare earths makes everything better, and it's but the main use people always talk about is and
Hmm.
because the rare earths are you're talking about small amounts. Some of them are hundreds of thousands of dollars a ton. Terbium's a very good
Right.
example, and but you don't use a lot of it, but
Mm.
it's super important. And the magnet rare earths, there are 15 rare earths, but the four magnet rare earths, dysprosium, praseodymium, terbium, as I said before, and dysprosium, they are very much the key elements, and
Hmm.
they are more enriched into clay than they are into harder rock sources, and that's why. Linus is searching for more of that because they're running out of the clay source of the rare earths and they're going into the harder rock where there's more lights rather than heavy rare earths. But
Hmm.
those four singly are the most important, and we have, like a lot of other projects in the world for these clay-hosted varieties, around about a quarter of your total rare earths are these magnet rare earths, and they are particularly important. We in our case at Jupiter, we have a very high amount of neodymium, and
Yep.
that's what's in, quite often it's neodymium, praseodymium goes into the magnets, they're the main components. And those permanent magnets are used in all the engines and motors that are used to drive in electric vehicles, and that's where
Right.
they are super important. The turbines, the wind farms, etc. There is also military applications for some of these heavier rare earths.
Yep.
It's because, like I said, they just make things more efficient, and they've got numerous technological applications, and they very much marry up with the thematic of trying to produce more sustainable, cleaner energy in this transition we're going through at the moment. There's quite a common um, elements that doesn't matter throughout the entire world, whether it be
Hmm.
in Europe or Asia or in North America.
Hmm.
There's critical minerals. Rare earth seems to be at the top of the list, and no, very important as clearly supported by the Australian government, which has been giving money to assist. Lynas built also building a carbonate plant near Kalgoorlie. So clearly, a very important element going forwards.
Excellent. Thank you for your explanation, Andrew. So I know that your share prices have actually recently doubled because you had a record intersection. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, look, it certainly took a shine to investors, and I think maybe it's the word record, maybe it's the fact it's 40 square kilometre target with very consistent zones of 20 to 30 meters thick, going over 2000 ppm. And that, as I said to people, you do the maths, all of a sudden it's 40 square kilometres times 20 times two to
Mm.
make it simple. And you got, 1.5 odd billion tons of this material. And that, the scale of it is something which excites people.
Hmm.
Uh, the naming of it, Jupiter, suggests scale, and grade is double a lot of our competitors in Australia. So, and our location, like I said before, I
Mm.
think it's, but when you start saying, you drill more holes, you get a record intersection here, Australia wide, or get keep breaking internal project scale records all the time, like we did recently with our neodymium praseodymium result of over 5,000 ppm. That all of a sudden people think, oh well, this is going to take off. We want to be part of this. We're going to enjoy the ride, and the share price has responded. But look, it's we don't want to be like everyone else. We want to be better. We realize there's a lot of projects out there, so you need to be somebody who wants to invest in rare earths, and certainly even though the prices are lower pre-COVID type levels, there is
Mm.
an expectation they will come back higher to the levels they were previously. So people want to set themselves in good assets or good projects,
Yep.
and which sit within companies like Venture.
Excellent. And what factors do you think has contributed to this significant rally in, I guess, venture mineral shares, even though there's been that broader lackluster performance across the market?
Well, look, the market's struggled. Uranium's shown some interest. I was at the Explorers Conference straight after that announcement and presented and got a great response. A lot of lot of people going through the berth. Everyone's interested, everyone's attracted by it. And certainly I think I don't think the scale of it is it just seems to make a lot of sense.
Mm.
And our market cap's now, closer to 50 million. It was sub 20 before, around about 15 million before. So, you know, and when you add this to all the other projects we've got,
Mhm.
there's a lot of optionality, and I think, venture minerals has always provided optionality, and an investor will put money in for a tin tungsten project in Mount Lindsay there, or they'll put it in for the iron ore when the iron ore price is high, and then I'll go, well, hang on, you've got lots of options. You can have, you're not a one-trick pony. The iron
Yep.
ore cyclone hits Port Hedland, for example, and it stops the shipping of iron ore. Then the iron ore price goes up, and you've got an iron ore project. Look, we
Mm.
haven't got everything, but we've got a fair coverage, and our skill sets have been very much about recognizing opportunities, and then getting opportunities that are more world class in whatever their jurisdiction or in what commodity they are in. So I think, we've been $200 million market before, and this is before the rare earth. So we've got a history of success and exploration, and delivering share price appreciation.
Thank you. And so where do you see the rare earth markets headed? And like, how do you see the prices bouncing back since, the prices have pulled back since the pre-COVID levels to the pre-COVID levels?
Yeah, look, I think everyone talks about supply being the key,
Mm.
and certainly, and there is a feeling that demand will increase, but I think there's geopolitical tension, as we know, between the US and China, and the US certainly wants to um, reduce its reliability on in particularly rare earths,
Mm.
and probably other commodities as well. And they're very much supporting development, even within the US. But in the US is a lot trickier to get permitting done, and certainly Australia, particularly Western Australia, are good jurisdictions for permitting.
Mhm.
Clearly, Western Australian government is not Western Australian, but the Australian government itself on a federal level is got a great relationship with the US. So I think that hence they've supported the critical mineral projects. So I think there'll be, like, if you like, two markets. I think there'll be a market which is looking to feed, if you like, the non-Chinese demand,
Mhm.
which is increasing. They're wanting
Yep.
to go and build their own motors, instead of buying those from China,
Mhm.
and create an independence or less reliance, because part of the reason they're critical minerals is there is a reliance on one source. And once you've done that, and that, for example, the boron market, it's in
Mhm.
Turkey. So if all of a problem is a war in Turkey, or something happens, or a plant
Mhm.
blows up, but heaven
Yep.
forbid, then all of a sudden there's no supply. And then,
Mm.
the price goes up, and that sort of volatility causes these commodities to be critical. That's part of the reason why they're critical. But so you may have, even though there might be a lot of product coming out of China, the problem is that if China is selling less outside of the world, and the US is buying it from, say, Australian
Mhm.
mining companies, developers like Linus or Iluka, and,
Mhm.
and hopefully Venture Minerals, unless Venture Minerals is helping supply those two, which is equally as good a story. Then I think you'll see a different dynamic, different, maybe a split in the markets, which I think is pretty promising for the price going forwards.
Excellent. So can you now update us on your company's Tasmanian operations, namely the Riley Iron Ore Mine and the Mount Lindsay Tin-Tungsten Project?
Absolutely. Look, we were working on the underground study at Mount Lindsay 12 months ago, and we got some results from the CSIRO studies on another form of tin sitting in, when mixed up with boron and iron, in what were called tin-rich borates. Now, they sit outside of the main tin zone,
Mm-hmm.
and contain tungsten we can recover, and the iron ore, the magnetite we can recover, and the copper, but we can't recover the tin. So this goes into, in our flow sheet, they go into the tailings. So CSO recognized and did some initial test work and said, yes, you can recover this.
Mm-hmm.
There are similar deposits called skarn deposits in Russia and China, and they actually process very similar minerals and extract boron and iron. And they did some work and started getting the tin results. So that was a great result. We announced that in April last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened after that is that we got Curtin involved. It's part of the Trailblazer Hub. They've been very much linked with the Australian government. Again, more critical minerals funding because tungsten's a critical mineral, and
Mm-hmm.
we've got a couple of post-grad hydromet students who are actually one in Kalgoorlie, one in Perth,
Mm-hmm.
at School of Mines Kalgoorlie, which I also attended um, many years ago, and they're doing work on the liners plant as well, like I said previously. So we've engaged with them. We've had them to site. They're collecting samples, and they're going to try and almost reverse engineer what was being done in China and Russia to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be basically putting some acid at some temperature to try and recover the boron and produce iron and tin as well to add. So improve the recoveries of the iron, produce extra revenue from that as well as the tin, like improve the recoveries and also the boron. So that's going to happen. That's a little bit set and forget, if you like. So that
Yep.
process is happening, and we'll get
Mm-hmm.
results later in the year. With the Riley mine, we actually got a process happening with Argonaut PCF where they're looking to do a strategic review and look at options in terms of bringing that forward and getting some value out of that asset. So, we've got companies looking over the project as we speak. So again, that pathway has been a little bit set and forget. It's happening. It's a process. Anyone at any stage we may get some value out of those two assets, and that will add also to the share price. So lots of work happening there, though it's obviously not the focus, but a lot of good work is happening on those advanced projects.
Big year for you, Andrew.
And it's never dull, that venture minerals.
Um, Now look, the next one I want to move into is obviously I've done some research on you, and we're always looking at the senior management of the team. And I've noticed that you've actually been in mining for 40 years, which kind of blew me away because you still look really young. So I'm very
Thank you.
so I'm really curious here. So could you give us a bit of background about your experience being a lifelong miner, I guess?
Well, it has caused a grey hair, which I have on top of my head. But look, 40 years of mining, 20 years is I went to Kalgoorlie from Perth back in 1982 and left 20 years later with having been retrenched because of a nickel mine. And that's obviously the nickel is going through a bit of a downturn at the moment.
Crossroads again.
But I worked in gold, open pit underground, nickel underground, involved in a very successful discovery of the Quarters mine near Kalgoorlie.
Mhm.
I met my wife there. My son's born in Kalgoorlie, and having studied there, the School of Mines got a great reputation. And I was
Mm.
told, by people who were doing that, that it was highly respected and it'd be something that you could hold up proudly as you went through your career. And certainly, you hear a lot about graduates performing quite well in the in the public sector. People go down into the contract mining type of route, or they run ASX companies or
Mhm.
consultancy firms. But yeah, look, it's pretty proud to be part of that institution, and they've got a great network. So Kalgoorlie Holt is dear to my heart, and it's good to see that the School of Mines is now helping venture minerals move forward.
Excellent. Well, WA School of Mines is actually ranked as one of the best mining schools in the world.
Yeah. Oh, look, so practical. We were mapping underground at the Mount Charlotte gold mine as part of one of our units. That sort of exposure is second to none, and the experience I got and virtually producing industry ready people straight away, which is I think was a great secret. So that practical blend with
Hmm.
the theory, it's just that's why it's great for mining.
Well, I think that probably really shines through, your technical competence and brilliance really shines through. And then when you combine it with like the real life leadership skills, that's what really takes to move a company like Venture Mineral forward.
Well, that's the other thing I did was so I was doing my mine geology degree was a
Mm.
master's in mineral economics at School of Mines as well. Well, it's part of
Mhm.
Curtin, and certainly I had to go and learn economics or accounting, which is sort of not something which is almost to me it's almost reverse logic to a geologist. But anyway, I got it done. But my passion is about making money with rocks.
Yep.
That's the economy of it, and that's kind of mining projects that are a bit tough. You got to get it right, otherwise it's the end of the mine. So so getting those sort of skill sets and recognizing those opportunities, that 20 years of experience I had there before I moved back to Perth,
Mhm.
and sort of moved into the corporate world, and I've joined a great team of people, which I met, Hamish Halliday, who worked with Steve Parsons as Adams Resources, Griffin Minerals. Steve's been very successful with Bellevue Gold. He's done it again, and certainly, the exploration success we've had with Venture, running in a different path, not all gold, but we have a lot of gold experience. We don't have a gold project at Venture, but it's been very much teaming up with a good bunch of blokes who, for 20 years, we've been working together, and that's why, Jupiter is no surprise. We will have that success, and like I said, it'll be the fourth discovery that this company has made, and probably potentially the most significant.
Thank you. And one more, Andrew. So, what would you actually say to our community of investors right now who are looking to either diversify, reposition, or rebalance their portfolio back into this sector? And why venture minerals?
Well, certainly there's a couple of things at point. Obviously, the downturn in the cycle we're having at the moment for most commodities.
Mm-hmm.
The need, as we see for commodities going forward for this energy transition, is still there. That hasn't changed. We still got the targets in 2030 to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
um, to minimise the impact of global warming, and basically we're not achieving that. So it's kind of hit like it's got to a point, we've done the easy stuff, and then it's just plateaued out. So, and I think there's going to be a moment where there's going to be a huge panic as we get closer to 2030 when we realize we can't achieve those goals. So I think that will happen, and then you want to be on board with quality assets,
Mm-hmm.
run by a quality team, and that's where Venture Minerals positions itself to be there. And it could be a tin tungsten project, and
Mm-hmm.
tin hasn't really had its time in the sun. It's all about solid. It's all part of electronics there. Tungsten's super important. Strategic mineral before now. It's critical. It's on everyone's list, like rare earths.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar scenario, geopolitical risk in terms of with China again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the Jupiter project in rare earth. So, you almost have, I've said two companies for the price of one. It's probably about five, but you've got so much optionality. And if Jupiter really takes off, then, we may do a spin out. So it gives double the opportunity for investors. So, I think I see that positioning, or people positioning themselves now already. You can see them looking around for quality rare earth assets. And we want to be right up there. There's a project in Brazil, which
Mm-hmm.
we're gunning for in terms of getting the tons and the grade.
Yep.
And a great thing about our project, one, if you're parochial and love the Australian Aussie story, it's in Western Australia. We don't have any people. Permitting is going to be much easier than having farmers mining on top of your deposit. Here, we've got a project which is very permittable, sparsely populated, near infrastructure next to two plants within trucking distance. So I think that story just about makes it very, very compelling for all investors to follow Venture Minerals.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So just to recap, quality asset with quality leadership. Perfect. So thank you so much for your time, Andrew. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the rest of your story in 2024.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gian, for this
Thank
opportunity.
you.